Good morning, you guys. So the last time I sat down and filmed a get ready with me slash just talk to you guys, I was kind of having like a mental breakdown. This video is not that. This video is not that. I have a lot to do today and I have to get ready. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to film it. This is not like a makeup tutorial. I'm just going to this is something I have to do and I also need to film. So today I just wanted to sit down and give you guys some advice for moving to Seattle. As of recently, I have been getting so many DMs on Instagram asking like, hey, I need some advice. Like, what is the best advice you can give me when moving to Seattle? So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna make a video about it because I know this will help a ton of people. So that is what this video is. I'm just gonna tie my hair up and look really cute right now. Okay, so I wrote down a bunch of notes so I wouldn't forget. I'm just gonna put that right here so I can multitask and read and do my makeup. Am I right? So today's video is just going to be advice when moving to Seattle. I feel like in a lot of videos I've kind of gone over some of these things, but maybe I've missed a few things. So I'm just taking a beauty blender sponge thing and spraying some rose hip oil on it because today we're living a bougie life. So I've done a few videos on like advice for moving to Seattle or pros and cons of moving to Seattle, and some of this stuff is going to be similar. So first of all, I just want to say that everybody's situation is different, and this is just more like broad advice I'm hoping to give to you guys as people that want to move to Seattle. Okay, so the first bullet that I have on my list is that this is not a city for everyone. You guys know how I feel about Seattle. I love it, I hate it. It's a mixed bag of emotions. And Seattle is great in a lot of aspects, and especially on paper, right? If you're coming from out of state or out of country, you are looking at Seattle essentially on a piece of paper and you're like, what are all these amazing things that Seattle has to offer me? Why would I want to move there? And on paper, it looks amazing. Seattle is like the ideal city. And I think that's why a lot of people are moving here and whatnot, but it's far from perfect. I mean, no city is perfect, first of all, but like, there's a lot of things you need to consider when you move here. This is a really difficult city sometimes because it could take a really long time for you to find your footing or your core group of friends. And, you know, once you find that, and it might be really quick, it might take like 5 years, you know, I just don't know, then you're set, then you're fine. But just know that when you get here, it might not be the city that you thought it was. I've talked to a lot of people about this, and the one thing they kind of all say is it took them a very long time to find a friend group. So for example, my hairdresser, she was telling me, because she's from the East Coast, and she was like, it took me 5 years to find a friend group. And I'm like, holy shit, 5 years? That is a long time. I don't even know what I'm going to be doing in 5 years. You know what I mean? So just know that yes, this is not a city for everybody, and it could take a really long time for you to get your footing, for you to understand the culture, the dynamic that Seattle has. So it might not be a city for everybody. Do your research. Make sure this is the place you want to be. It is gloomy and rainy. Obviously, duh, we know that. But Seattle is really gloomy and rainy as the sun is literally, coming out right now. Great. And it's not the kind of gloom where it's like, oh, it's cozy. I mean, it is cozy sometimes, but like there's no thunderstorms. There's no, you know, lightning. There's really not a lot of that. It's just rainy, and yeah, it's not even like a downpour of rain. It's just more of a sprinkle of rain, which is sometimes really annoying. If you don't do well with the gloom, if you don't do well with the rain, probably not the city for you. But I will say this, the summers are lit. The summers are really nice here. So I always say that you know, the gloomy weather makes up for that, because come summertime and springtime, you're just like, hallelujah, this is the best weather ever. Okay, another piece of advice, and honestly, this is probably one of the best pieces I can give you, is live in the city, not outside of the city. When you're doing research, if you're looking for places to live, it's challenging because you see places like Linwood or Renton or Redmond, and they're only so many miles away, right? Like they're like 20, 30 miles away, which must mean that it's only 30 minutes to get to Seattle. Wrong. Seattle traffic is no joke. For example, I just posted a video on what it was like living in South Seattle in the Tukwila area. I will link that here. And that was a very eye-opening experience. It was really difficult, and the thing is, when you live outside of the city and not in the city, you are disconnected. Like, you're just disconnected from what's going on, and you're disconnected from the Seattle culture. So my advice to you is, if you can, I know it can be expensive, but it is so much more worth it to live in the city than like outside of the city. Okay, let's quickly talk about the dating scene in Seattle, because it's one of my favorite topics as a single female. So, I've said this to a few of you. When I was looking for places to live, I wanted to live in a place where there was more men than women, just because I wanted a better selection. I wanted more options. It doesn't matter that there are more men than women here. The dating scene here sucks. It sucks. This is why people are flaky here, whether it's men or women. People are just really flaky here because they get comfortable, they get settled, and people are also really scared of change, I feel like, as am I. I would not come here in the hopes of pursuing a significant other, although you never know. Maybe Mr. or Mrs. or whatever, right, is over here. It's just, it's a different group of, individuals when it comes to dating. People are passive as fuck. You can only be ghosted so many times when you're just like, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. People can be really flaky here, whether it's dating or meeting up with friends or trying to make friends. It just can be really tricky. Some other advice: if you don't need a car, do not bring a car. I get a ton of questions about people asking me if they should bring their car. First of all, I don't know everybody's situation. Everybody has a different situation. But if you don't have to bring your car, I would just say don't bring it. It's just going to be an added burden to you, and you're probably going to have to pay for it. But if you need it, if you are going to work that's not downtown, then I say bring it and use it and whatever. But if you don't need it, if it's just like gonna waste space, don't bring it, because it's just gonna be more expensive to you. Okay, let's see. When you are moving out here, pack lightly, because there are, you're just gonna end up buying more. Like, I think people always want to bring their whole life, but bring what's really important to you. Don't bring the unnecessary things. Don't bring a microwave or things that you just really don't need that you can just buy out here, because less is more, and you're going to find that you can get almost everything over here basically new, but you can buy it used. Like, some of my favorite apps are OfferUp, LetGo. Even the Facebook Marketplace is really good when it comes to like buying new things. Well, buying used things that are like new or nice. So pack lightly, don't overpack. Okay, what else? Ooh, there's no income tax here, which can be fun and great, but there's a really high sales tax, which is not fun. Sales tax is like 10.1% or 10%. It might be more than that. But it's high, and I never really felt it when I was living in the Midwest, because I think it was like 7% over there or something like that. And it's higher over here, and I feel it. It's a thing. I know Seattle passed a law too. I'm sorry, I'm getting over a cold. Seattle passed a law not too long ago on like the tax on sugary drinks. So sugary drinks are a little bit higher, which is honestly good. I mean, when you think about it, like, sugary drinks are so bad for you that you should not be drinking them anyways. And if raising the prices is helping you not drink them, that's good. But if you're like addicted and you're like, I need cheap sugary drinks in Seattle, they are taxed higher. Okay, ooh. The ganja is legal here. Weed is legal here. If weed is something you are so absolutely against, this probably isn't the right city for you. It's not a big deal here. Weed is not a big dealio at all. And there's weed shops and people smoking and whatever, doing weed all over the place. And it's just, there's bigger fish to fry, so weed is legal. Moving on from that, something that also reminds me of weed, sports. Sports are a huge deal here. People are huge Seahawks, Sounders fans. Sports are a really big deal, and people are obsessed with the Seahawks and all that jazz. So, get on board or find a bar that supports your sports team. Let's see, what else? Ooh, there's a lot of bikers here. And I don't mean like motorcycle bikers. I mean like bicyclists. Biking is a really big deal here. Seattle is basically tearing up the city to put more bike paths in. I've said this in a lot of my videos as well, but Seattle is a city of neighborhoods. It just isn't Seattle. There is just a lot of neighborhoods over here, which goes back to one of my first points, which is living outside of the city can just really remove you from what's going on in the city. So that's why, you know, I just think living in the city is so important. Because, for example, West Seattle, you think it's Seattle, it's close to Seattle, it's west of Seattle, whatever. It is literally, like, in my opinion, it's its own city. Like, West Seattle is removed from what's actually happening in Seattle. How are these looking? Some more advice. Seattle is extremely hilly. I think a lot of people, especially like my relatives, when they first came out here, they didn't realize how hilly Seattle was. So know that Seattle isn't like a flat area. There's a lot of hills, which is why if it snows here, the city basically shuts down because it's just so dangerous to drive here. First of all, Seattle's not equipped to handle snow, but also it would be very dangerous because of the hills. I feel like I talk about the people in Seattle a lot and like what they're like, but Seattle is a lot of techie people, a lot of hippies, a lot of bougie ass bitches. There's a lot of different mixes, and I think sometimes that can get a little weird and a little off, and I think that can also be why the vibe here is so interesting, because we have this mix of just completely interesting people coming together. So yeah, there's just, like I was saying, a ton of tech people, a lot of outdoors people, a lot of hippies, a lot of expensive bougie ass bitches. I mean, it's a city full of different kinds of people, and when you put so many different things in one city, the vibe can get kind of off and kind of weird. So sometimes I think that's why we have a freeze as well, because we have just this culture that's like, what the hell, like, are these my people? I don't know. Yeah, I think overall, you guys, like, just do your research, and obviously, like, you clicking on this video, I feel like is doing your research, but just know that Seattle is not a city for everyone, and in the bigger scheme of things, you don't know that really until you come here sometimes. You can do enough research and you can figure it out for yourself, but like for me, for example, like I needed to come out here to figure out if this was the city for me, and I'm still figuring it out if this is like the right city for me. I have my ups and downs with it, and I think as a millennial, we just want things really quick. We want things right away. We don't like waiting for them, and I am like that. And I want a friend group really quick. I am getting there, but it's taken 2.5 years for me to even get there. So I think that we just have to be patient and know that in time things will happen. It's a different city, and I think just in general, like wherever you move, it could be a little tricky because it's new to you and you don't know really how to approach it. But I do think that, like, in general, if this is the place you want to be, make it happen, make it work, because you can. And also, you never know until you try something, right? Like, you never know if you're gonna love or hate Seattle unless you try it out, unless you put it on and see if you like how it looks. I think just in general, we have to remember that, and we have to be patient with ourselves when we're trying to make the decision of if we should move out here or not. Okay guys, I'm done getting ready. I basically have given you my whole list. I hope that this helps some of you. I want to say too, I know that everybody's situation is super different. I hope that this list that I've given you is like things you've either known or things you want to go research more, because it's scary moving. It can be daunting, especially if it's your first time. I think Seattle is an amazing place, but I do think that it is not for everyone, and I think that it's important to do your research and make sure that this is a city you want to move to. I do want to say one more thing. If you are somebody that has moved from out of the country and into Seattle, please comment below some of your advice. I get questions from people that are trying to move from the UK or from Japan all the time on like, how do I do that if I'm, what's it like coming from another country to the US and to Seattle specifically? I don't necessarily have that experience. It's something I haven't done and I don't know really anything about. So if you're from another country and you moved to Seattle, please comment below some of the advice you would give others that are trying to do the same thing. I want to make this a community that is super helpful and you know, supports one another. Yeah, that's basically all I got. Anyways, guys, I have to get going. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up so I know, and subscribe if you aren't already. And I will see you in my next video. Okay, guys, have a beautiful day. Bye.